Imagine you are driving down a deserted highway late at night. The dashboard clock glows a faint blue, and the only sound is the rhythmic hum of your tires against the asphalt. Suddenly, your headlights catch a flicker of movement. You slow down, thinking it's a stray animal, but as you come to a halt, you see them. Two children standing perfectly still on the shoulder of the road. They aren't wearing coats despite the freezing wind. They don't look distressed, they just look expectant. This is the beginning of the black-eyed kid phenomenon, a mystery that has transcended internet creepypasta to become one of the most documented paranormal anomalies of 2026. The terror of a black-eyed child encounter doesn't start with a jump scare. It starts with a feeling, a primal, gut-wrenching sensation of impending doom. It's as if your nervous system is screaming at you to run before your brain even processes what's wrong. When you finally look into their faces, you realize the horror. Their eyes are not human. There is no white sclera, no colored iris, just a solid, glossy wall of pitch-black void. It looks like liquid obsidian has replaced their sight. In this first part of our investigation, we dive into the psychology of the invitation. Unlike typical ghosts or monsters, these entities seem bound by a terrifying rule. They cannot enter your space unless you allow it. They knock on car windows, they stand at front doors, and they always have a simple, mundane request. "I'm cold," they might say, or "Can I come in to call my mom?" But the moment you feel that urge to say yes, your soul feels like it's being pulled through a vacuum. We've analyzed hundreds of reports from the last 6 months alone, and a pattern is emerging. These aren't just sightings, they are attempts at infiltration. From the misty trails of Cannock Chase to the suburban streets of Ohio, the frequency of these encounters is spiking. Is it a mass hallucination, or is the barrier between our world and something much darker finally beginning to dissolve? To understand why the 2026 sightings are so dangerous, we have to look back at where this darkness began. While many believe the black-eyed children are a product of the digital age, folklore experts suggest their roots go back centuries. In ancient Celtic myths, there were tales of soul collectors who took the forms of innocent youths to bypass the defenses of the wary. However, the modern era of this mystery began in 1998 with journalist Brian Bethel. His account set the blueprint for every encounter that followed. He was parked outside a movie theater when two boys in hoodies approached his car. He described an irrational, soul-crushing fear that washed over him the moment they spoke. They wanted a ride home to see a movie. It sounds innocent, right? But Bethel noticed that his hand was moving toward the door lock almost against his will, as if he were being telepathically steered. When he finally looked at their eyes and saw the absolute darkness, he fled. But the question remains, what happens if you say yes? In this second part of our deep dive, we explore the missing files, reports of individuals who allegedly granted these entities permission. The data is scarce because, quite frankly, those people are rarely heard from again. In the few documented cases where someone survived an encounter after letting them in, the aftermath is devastating. They report chronic illness, a permanent sense of being hollowed out, and a string of unexplained tragedies that follow them for the rest of their lives. It's as if the black-eyed children are energy vampires in the most literal sense. They don't want your money or your car, they want your place in this reality. In the mid-2000s, a woman in rural Vermont reportedly let 2 children in during a snowstorm. Within weeks, her husband disappeared, her house burned down, and she claimed she could still hear their voices whispering from the shadows of her new apartment. Are these entities demonic, or are they something more scientific? Some theorists suggest they are interdimensional glitches, beings from a parallel universe that lacks our biological structure, trying to find a host in a world made of light and color. We are now entering the era of the Great Reveal. In Part 3, we analyze the digital evidence that has surfaced in early 2026. For years, skeptics argued that the lack of clear photos was proof that black-eyed children were nothing more than urban legends. But with the rise of 8K security cameras and AI-enhanced trail sensors, the evidence is becoming impossible to ignore. In January of this year, a high-altitude drone flying over the UK's Cannock Chase captured a sequence that has left experts speechless. It shows a small, pale figure moving through the dense brush with a speed that is physically impossible for a human child. When the drone's thermal camera locked on, the figure showed no heat signature. It was a cold spot moving through the forest, a literal void in the thermal spectrum. But it's not just the forest. Smart home security systems across North America have begun flagging unknown guests at 4:00 a.m. In these clips, the audio is always distorted. There is a low-frequency hum, almost like a buzzing hive of bees, that vibrates through the microphone. When the person inside the house speaks through the intercom, the black-eyed children don't respond to questions. They simply repeat their script. Let us in. We have been waiting. It is time for the reset. This brings us to a terrifying new theory, the simulation glitch. Many researchers now believe that these entities are cleanup programs for our reality. Think of them as the white blood cells of a computer simulation, sent to delete individuals who have begun to see through the illusion of our world. This would explain why they look like low-resolution humans, the pale skin, the lack of eye detail, the repetitive speech patterns. They are assets from a higher dimension tasked with maintaining the status quo. If this is true, the surge in sightings in 2026 means the system is failing. The simulation is breaking down, and the black-eyed children are the scouts sent to find the cracks. As we conclude this four-part investigation, we must face the most uncomfortable question. How do we stop something that isn't technically there? If the black-eyed children are indeed interdimensional or simulation-based entities, traditional defenses won't work. Throughout 2026, an underground community of watchers has formed, sharing protocols for those who find themselves face-to-face with the void. The first rule is the most important: guard your consent. Every recorded negative outcome began with a verbal or mental yes. These entities operate on a logic of the invitation. If you deny them entry with total conviction, they lose their anchor to your specific timeline. They don't get angry, they simply vanish as if they were never there. But protection goes deeper than just locking your doors. Witnesses who have successfully repelled an encounter suggest that these beings feed on fear. The impending doom you feel is actually them, priming you, lowering your vibration so you are easier to harvest. By maintaining a state of calm and refusing to engage in their dialogue, you become invisible to their sensors. As we look toward the remainder of 2026, the global tension is rising. Some believe a mass reset is coming, a night where the knocks won't just be at one door, but at every door. Whether you see them as demons, aliens, or glitches in the Matrix, the phenomenon of the black-eyed children is a mirror held up to our own fears about reality. They represent the unknown, the other that stands just outside our circle of light. The next time you hear a soft, rhythmic tapping on your window in the middle of the night, don't rush to see who it is. Take a breath, check your pulse. And remember, no matter how much they plead, no matter how much they cry, they cannot come in unless you let them. The world is changing and the shadows are getting longer. Stay vigilant, stay skeptical, and most importantly, keep your eyes on the light. Subscribe to stay updated on the latest declassified leaks and comment below. Have you ever seen the void? Good night and stay safe.